Hello, everybody, and welcome to another lineup lock show for you guys from Sports Ethos. We are here gearing up here for a Sunday slate, a 9-game slate, and ask away in the comments. And if you guys do have any questions, please do ask away in the comments. I will get to them as we go. I was hearing myself there for a minute there. I had my YouTube still open. Oops, I could hear myself. How's it going, everybody? I am Keith Cork, and I am here to give you guys all the latest injury news and how I'm going to be handling it via the DFS angle here, who I'm playing, who I'm not playing. We're about 14 minutes here from another injury news drop. I just kind of want to refresh my feed now to see if there's anything I missed while I was dropping my laptop down the stairs. Yeah, that just happened. Dropped my entire laptop downstairs, so that's cool. Doug McDermott is in, and Keldon Johnson is out. Really, no surprise there. Looks like that's the last bit of update there we've got. So nothing too newsy here, but hopefully we'll get a whole drop of news here in about 13 minutes. What's happened last couple hours? Quite a bit. RJ Barrett has been ruled out, so you guys can definitely stack up some, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart. I think those guys get boosts pretty easily. I'm actually going to go ahead and throw Obi Toppin out there too. I know I was fading him last show. That kind of worked out. I said he'd get 20 minutes. He ended up playing 19. So, yeah, I do sometimes get things right. But I think here, Obi Toppin, they're playing the Washington Wizards. It's a game where Tom Thibodeau can kind of just let go of the reins a little bit and allow Obi Toppin to play a whole boatload of minutes. I think that is a very feasible thing that could happen here. So I'm actually all over Obi Toppin at 4,100 on DraftKings now, especially with RJ Barrett being ruled out. I think Emmanuel Quickly also gets a few more shots. He's a little pricey on DK, but I think, if you want to go that route, I think you definitely can. He is trying to get that most improved player award as well. But I do feel like this is truly going to be a top-end game. One other thing I want to point out is that, if you're looking at who's getting the Julius Randle minutes, it has been actually them playing kind of double center lineups or playing Isaiah Hartenstein a little bit more. So Hartenstein is also on my radar as well. I got a question here. Who's the better stream, Deni Avdija, Quentin Grimes, or Hardaway Jr.? 10 team points. Thank you for giving that little bit of context there. I think it's got to be Deni. I think he's definitely the safest of them. I think Quentin Grimes probably has the upside here. I wouldn't go Tim Hardaway Jr. He just had a good game, and we all know he's kind of up and down. I'm not saying he's automatically going to be down in this one, but I do think it's kind of an up and down thing. So I would go Avdija and then followed by Grimes. Avdija is just going to have an incredible amount of usage, I feel like, with no Beal and no Porzingis. He's been having that kind of usage. So that's how I'd go with it. And Grimes could get buried under, maybe Emmanuel Quickly's getting hot. Maybe Obi Toppin gets a few more minutes. I'm not totally sold that Quentin Grimes is going to get a whole boatload of minutes, but it's probable. It's not entirely like it's going to happen, but it is probable. PJ Washington and Kelly Oubre and Dennis Smith Jr. have all been ruled out. That happened within the last couple hours also. No surprise there at all. As you guys know from the podcast that we actually just posted. No problem, Finesse. As you guys just posted, or we just posted the podcast, and as I said in that podcast, we with the Charlotte Hornets, they're not trying to win any games. PJ Washington, Oubre, Dennis Smith Jr. were all listed as questionable. I was pretty sure they were all going to not play, so it's really not a surprise here. No real bumps there as far as I'm concerned for the Charlotte Hornets. Trying to look here, try to pull up their. Oh, that was actually earlier in the earlier slate. I'm sorry, guys. I am all kinds of discombobulated. Dropping my laptop really threw me off. My bad. Anyways, Monty Morris has been ruled out, which is good news for DeLon Wright. You can definitely dock in some DeLon Wright at 5,900. I think it's a fine play. Do I think it's like an absolute necessary play? Like, let me look at some other guys in that price range there. You've got DeLon Wright 5,900. You've also got Trey Jones at 5,700. I would go with Trey Jones pretty much every time. So 5,700, a few hundred cheaper. Really going to have some safe usage out there for the Spurs with Keldon Johnson out there. So there you go. Immediately see a guy that's cheaper and better than Trey Jones, in my opinion. More probable to have a higher score. Maybe even some Bruce Brown. Wouldn't mind playing a little bit of him. So yeah, I don't think DeLon Wright's absolutely a lock or anything like that, but I think he is a nice guy to look at if you need some roster filler. I think that'd be totally fine. And yeah, as I mentioned already, Keldon Johnson has been ruled out. That's really not a surprise at all. We knew that the Spurs are just trying to get Wembanyama at this point. There's no incentive for them to win at all. So, but that's really it for the most recent injury news in the last couple of hours. Some news that we're still waiting on. Let me just go ahead and pull that up. We are still waiting on news on Jokic. He is questionable. Obviously, he's got one of the 2 later games on this slate here, so we're probably not going to know that till lock. If you do have him in your lineups, or you have a lot of salary in your lineup, maybe you have. Trying to think here, maybe you have like Giannis out there. You get an extra 300 or something like that. You stick him in your utility spot so you can swap him to Jokic if he gets ruled in, because this is a good matchup for Jokic. I think he'd be absolutely killer if he does play. Embiid. He is playing. We got Anthony Davis probable. He's probably going to play. LeBron James questionable. He's probably going to play. He's been questionable every game pretty much, and he pretty much plays through it all the time. So not too concerned about that one. He should be in, and I do like him tonight also. I've already mentioned that on the podcast as well. The cheapest guy. He's cheaper than those late slate guys. You got Steph Curry and Joel Embiid and all those guys, Nikola Jokic. But LeBron James is a little bit cheaper. His game's a little bit earlier in the day, but yeah, I think he's a pretty solid guy to go out there and get it with the Lakers needing to win a game. Already talked about Randall being out. Halliburton's out. No surprise there. Beal is out. No surprise at all. Jamal Murray is listed as probable, so he should be playing. All those Spurs that were mysteriously sick are suddenly back in the lineup, so imagine that. That's crazy. Already mentioned Keldon Johnson. Miles Turner is questionable. I don't be fooled by that. I would say there's almost a little chance that he plays. I don't think he's going to be playing this one. I think you can pretty much deploy Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith as you see fit. Jared Allen, we're still waiting for some information on him. He's questionable with that groin injury, so that'd be an interesting one to keep monitoring there. If he doesn't play, there would be some Evan Mobley appeal. Obviously, gets a little bump there, but we are still waiting to hear about Jared Allen. And we are about 7 minutes away from injury news, so just hang with me here while we wait on that new news. But yeah, the RJ Barrett news, we already went over there. Devin Vassell ruled out, not really surprising at all. Michael Porter Jr. also probable. He's probable. So yeah, again, his mysterious injury is suddenly gone. He was out for injury management anyways. So that's really the big guys that we're waiting for. For the most part, though, we have everything we need. So, kind of just talking about while we wait for about 7 minutes here, talking about some of these games that we can kind of expect to be competitive. I actually do like that Wizards and Knicks game a little bit more now with no RJ Barrett there. Again, I feel like they're going to open the floodgates. I'm playing guys like Obi Toppin or maybe Quentin Grimes. They're going to just be able to play those guys big minutes because the Washington Wizards aren't very good right now. The Knicks aren't like super incentivized to win. Let me just take a look at the standings again real quick. I don't believe they're like in danger of slipping, but let me just take a look and just double check that before I give you the information. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to slip past the Nets, so they're pretty much a lock for fifth. I mean, they're probably not going to catch the Cavs either. I don't think they can. Well, they probably can if they win out and the Cavs lose out or something like that, but very low probability of them not getting the fifth seed. So at this point in time, they really aren't incentivized to try to win games. So, yeah, I do think that you have the ability there to play some of those guys like a Toppin who hasn't been playing a lot. So that's my thoughts there. Detroit, Orlando, I think it'll be competitive because both those teams are tanking. So it's like one of those games where you just kind of put your guys out there and just see what happens. I mean, they're not going to be resting any guys necessarily. Two young teams. So I think you're safe to play those guys. I do like Paulo Banchero at 7,500 a whole heck of a lot in the slate. I think for him, there is a little bit of incentive, going for that Rookie of the Year award. And just had a really big game. But I think, you're seeing the usage there slowly climb for Paulo as the Magic just kind of lean into, helping showcase him towards the tail end of the season, down the long stretch here, in the stretch run, I should say. So that's my thoughts there. Dallas and Atlanta, it should be a competitive game also. Dallas is on a back-to-back, so that's an interesting thing. So I know we had a question about Tim Hardaway Jr. here. That's one reason why I'm not fading him entirely, but I'm not super high on him on this slate. But, obviously Luka Doncic, you can play at any point in time. He's a pretty solid player. DFS player. He's a very good real-life player. He's a solid DFS player at his price point there, 11,800. I think it's fine. I'm not like going out of my way to get him in my lineups, especially on a 9-game slate. So take that for what it's worth. Kyrie Irving had a stinker, so you might want to be a contrarian and play him. I think there are other options, maybe a little bit more expensive than him. I'd rather have. I already mentioned LeBron James. Steph Curry's only about 1,000 more. I think exactly 1,000 more than Kyrie Irving. I'd rather have him. Trae Young just burned me 8,800. Not loving this matchup either, so probably not going with much Trae Young. DeJounte Murray 7,500 is a fine play. I think that's okay. So yeah, but you can imagine you can pretty much bank on this game being competitive. And I like the stars in that game, obviously, just taking a look at them, but the price points aren't exactly appealing to me, especially with Dallas being on back-to-back. Spurs and Sacramento, yeah, this is one of those games where if you want to skip it, I don't blame you. The Kings have little to play for at this point, having locked up their I'm pretty sure they're locked in their position. I don't think anyone can catch them there. The Suns aren't catching them. They're 5 games behind the Kings. So, yeah, that's right. Of course I know that. Go follow Jill on Twitter. She was out there, parading and having a good time. They could actually theoretically catch the Grizzlies. I was watching that Grizzlies-Bulls game before I hopped on here, and the Bulls were closing the gap here. Actually, the Bulls are winning now by 14 points, so that's kind of interesting. So maybe there is a little bit of incentive for the Kings to play here. If they can sneak up into that second spot, then they'll play somebody coming out of the play-in. But then you're looking at, you could possibly end up getting the Lakers or the Timberwolves. Whereas if you finish third, you get the Clippers. It's kind of splitting hairs at that point. I don't think there's much of a difference there. So I'm not sure if this is a competitive game or not. I'm leaning towards not. That's what I'm going to say because the Spurs are just terrible. But there are obviously guys you can target on the Spurs because they are so bad and they're playing just nobodies. The Suns and OKC, that's going to be a competitive game. I'm telling you guys right now, my favorite spend up is in that game. Told you guys on Twitter, Kevin Durant is my favorite spin up on this entire slate. He's only 8,900, which is absolutely ridiculous. I like the Thunder to keep this within 10 points pretty much throughout the whole game, 10 to 15 points. And that means that, Durant's going to get 30 plus minutes. If that's the case, then sign me up for Kevin Durant at under 9,000. That's just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think that's Vanessa says he hopes Jokic doesn't play. I think Jokic will play. I think he's over his mysterious illness, just like the rest of the Denver Nuggets are. I have a feeling they're going to come back full strength. I have no inside intelligence about that. But we are about 2 minutes out from a new injury report, so maybe we'll get some more clarity on that one. I will be refreshing my Sports Ethos injury news feed here and seeing where we stand with all that. But yeah, I think Phoenix OKC is going to be a competitive game, so I think you can target those guys. You might want to run back Durant with some SG on the other side. I'd be totally down with that. Obviously, Chris Paul's a good play there too. Devin Booker's a good contrarian play. I think they're all definitely on the table. Jalen Williams is an okay play as well. Not into Giddy at 8,500 to be honest with you, but hey, he's going to have low ownership probably. So there you go. Lakers and Houston actually will probably be a competitive game because the Lakers need a win. Lakers need to win down the stretch here. So Lakers going to be trying. That's why I like LeBron James here. Even if he only gets 3.5, quarters, he only gets 30 out of his 35 minutes or whatever he was planning on playing. I still think he's going to put up really, really good numbers against a really weak Houston Rockets defense. Houston, they might get feisty, man. That's the thing. They never know when they're going to get feisty and try to, steal a win from somebody. I could feel that kind of coming here. So the Lakers need to not sleep on these guys. They need to definitely kind of get up for this game. So I'm expecting some good things from the Lakers. And I think it's going to be a competitive game. Indiana, Cleveland, that's probably a pretty easy skip for me because the Pacers are pretty much sitting everybody at this point. Not loving any of the Pacers at their price tags against the Cleveland Cavaliers defense. I just don't feel like there's a whole lot of value there. Cleveland side, I think you can go with guys like Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, and again, if Jared Allen sits, you can go with some Evan Mobley, but not super into that game. I think you can also skip it totally fine. All right, so we've got our injury news dropping here. Let me just refresh our feed and see if we have anything new just yet. Not yet. Okay, we do have something here. Johnny Davis is joining the start for the Wizards. So I mentioned DeLon Wright is a good play. I'm going to go back on that now. Don't play DeLon Wright. I was waiting for this to happen here. It looks like Johnny Davis is probably going to play 30-plus minutes. I'm just checking his price now. On DraftKings, he's 3,700. That's a good play. I'll tell you guys right now, again, the Wizards have nothing to play for. This just feels like a game that's going to get trashed up by people sitting, not playing. He's 4,000 on FanDuel. I'm not loving it, but it's okay. But 3,700 on DK, yeah, I'm in for it. I've got 3,400 here. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm going to save some of that value for my DFS Pass subscribers. Sportsethos.com. Go sign up for the DFS Pass. You'll get that. But I do have a guy here I'm kind of excited about. That's a little cheaper than Johnny Davis. But I think if you need a cheap guard, 3,700, Johnny Davis is absolutely on the table here. He's getting the start here. I get a feeling he's going to play 30-plus minutes here. So there you go. Silly season hero, perhaps, for the win. He's obviously can crap the bet too. Let me just tell you, not the safest cash play. I will say that as well. Frank Ntilikina is in. Great. Doesn't matter at all. We don't care about that. Hopefully we get a few bits more of information here. I don't think we're going to get any information on Jokic because their game is late. And I didn't mention those two games. Obviously, those late games are the most competitive on the slate. If you want safe stars, I would go for any of the Denver Nuggets, the Golden State Warriors, who are playing each other, or the Milwaukee Bucks and the Sixers are playing each other. And those games will be competitive. They have really small spreads at this point. But we won't get that Jokic news. That's one of the downsides here until later because that is the latest game actually on the slate here. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else that we're waiting on. There's no one else that we're waiting on there really except for just Nuggets. So it's really just Jokic. So he is really kind of as I said, I'm getting a gut feeling that he's going to play. I have nothing to go on that other than my gut. So I'm not quoting any sources. I'm not saying I see anything on Twitter. I'm just saying that he's been out for a reasonable amount of time for the injury that he has. And the Nuggets look like they're playing everybody tonight. And I think it's a good call because it's the Warriors. And this is a good game if you want to make a statement, before the playoffs. I think it's a good game to do that. So let's see if we have any other new news here that we're kind of waiting on. Refreshing my feed. I don't see anything crazy. I'm just going to head to Twitter now and see if maybe there's something that is breaking from the beat writers that I follow, which if you don't do that, you should definitely do that. Follow the beat writers. They usually are on top of things. They're listening at the press conferences before the game. They're at the shoot-arounds, kind of watching everybody, asking questions. Oh, man, Jaren Jackson Jr. just fouled out. Let me see where that Bulls game's standing. I'm pretty interested in that, obviously. But there are other reasons, too. Pretty interested in that just from a playoff standpoint as well. So, yeah, the Bulls are currently up 10 with about 7.5 minutes to go there. So, interesting development there in terms of a game outcome. If that does happen, again, I think the Kings have more incentive to win this game tonight because they could close that gap. They're 2 games right now behind Memphis for the 2nd seed, and they could close that gap to 1 game here with a win if the Grizzlies lose. Obviously, that's simple math. So there is incentive there for the Kings now. So, you might want to look at some of those Kings. So let's go ahead over there and see. I was absolutely assuming that the Bulls would get not decimated, but they would get beat by the Grizzlies. And that still could very well happen. We all know the Bulls like to fold in the 4th quarter. But let me see here. They've got De'Aaron Fox at 8,000. That's a good play. Sabonis 10-1. I mean, they're playing the Spurs, so anyone really up and down this roster. Keegan Murray, I know, was somebody that Lee, who did the podcast with me, was on. So shout out to Lee Schwartz. You should go follow him on Twitter. Also, Lee from Fargo, at Lee from Fargo on Twitter. Give him a follow. I was into Trey Lyles if this game gets out of hand, 3,700, but now I'm less into him because I don't think that I think they're incentivized to win now a little bit more. I don't know the strength of schedule for those guys remaining here, but I would have to imagine it's pretty similar. It's negligible, I think, at this point because you're talking about 1 game difference. I mean, that could go either way down the stretch here. Just trying to see if there's anything else right now that we have not covered in terms of the late-breaking injuries here. Just got an injury report about 4 or 5 minutes ago. I'm not seeing anything crazy there. Bear with me here. Let me see. Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, and Mitchell Robinson are starting against Washington. No surprises there. Again, Quentin Grimes gets probably the biggest boost with RJ Barrett out, but I do think Toppin is the guy I'm going with in DFS just based on his price point and just feeling like it's going to be a game where Toppin's going to get, I'm hoping at least 25 minutes, but I'm hoping he's going to get like 30 plus, right? That would be crazy because he's a per minute stud, typically. Let's see. Last time Kevin Durant played the Thunder in OKC, his line was 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 34 minutes. Interesting bit of information there. And let me see here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything too crazy. So it looks like we're pretty quiet on the injury front here. Just talk about some of my other plays that I'm into on the slate then. In that scenario, I did mention that the Pacers aren't really a team that I'm targeting, but I'm going to go back and backtrack and mention a guy that I do like at his price point, and that's TJ McConnell at 5,900. TJ has been getting minutes inexplicably. I'm not sure why, but he's still getting, nearly 30 minutes here. He's 2 of the last 3 games, I believe it was. Let me just take a look here. 29 minutes, 20 minutes, 28 minutes for the last 3 games. That's his game log there. And when he plays, he just produces, man. 34.75 DK points, 22.5 DK points, 44.75 DK points. Even if he gets 20 to 22 minutes, he's still probably going to give you, 20 to 25 DK points. So it's not going to sink you. And there's that incredible upside there. He's only recorded 3 steals in the last 3 games. But we all remember, as Lee from Fargo, Lee said in our podcast, go back and listen to it, please. He had 10 steals one game down the stretch last season. And so we're all waiting for a game like that from TJ McConnell. It's definitely possible. The kid is just, again, putting up numbers like crazy when he gets minutes. I call him a kid. He's actually not even that much younger than me. And he's definitely older than a lot of the Pacers out there. So it confuses me as to why they're playing him so many minutes. But if they're going to play him that many minutes, even against Cleveland, I think he's a decent spot there. I already mentioned some of the Knicks there, but another Knick will mention is Mitchell Robinson. If you do follow me on Twitter, there's my handle right there. Mitchell Robinson, without Julius Randle, gets a nice bump in rebounds, blocks, just has some more space, even some points. Has some more space to operate there in the center of the floor, in the center of the paint. And so if that's the case, I do think Mitchell Robinson at 4,800 is a decent play. Absolutely. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat as well, by the way. But yeah, Kevin Durant, 8,900. I already mentioned him. Here's a guy I'm looking at also, from the Lakers standpoint. I did mention LeBron James, but D'Angelo Russell at 7,000 on DraftKings is another guy I'm definitely looking at, just because I feel like this is going to be an up and down, pace game. He's going to get Kevin Porter Jr. across from him, who's sloppy with the basketball. D'Lo gets out in transition. D'Lo shoots threes. If he's shooting and popping and hitting his threes at a decent clip, he's definitely going to crush that $7,000 price tag. So he's definitely a guy that I'm relatively high on the slate, just because of the matchup mostly. But yeah, I think that's a good play there. And obviously, we talked about the Knicks. One guy I did not mention yet, which I can't fail to mention, is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is absolutely, a great play, solid play. He's got to be in your cash lineups, I'll tell you that much. No Julius Randle. The Knicks, again, they're not super incentivized to win this game, but they do have Tom Thibodeau as their coach. And if you know anything about Tom, it's that he doesn't really take any games off. So I think Jalen Brunson's still going to get like 38 minutes in this one. Hopefully it stays close and he does reach his full allotment of minutes, but 8,400 is still a steal for a guy that's getting a bump in usage because they don't have Julius Randle. Let me just refresh Twitter here and see if we have any new news here. I'm actually getting something from this is Mike Fiddle. Birthday Mitch. Yeah, it's Mitchell Robinson's birthday, I guess. I did not know that. I don't necessarily play those narratives, but hey, it's his birthday. That gives me even more incentive to play him. I just mentioned him, so that's good timing there. But my guy, Michael Fiddle, who you should definitely follow on Twitter. He's a fantastic follow, a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to sports betting. Let's see if we have any new news at this point in time. Nope, pretty slow. There is not a whole lot here. You'd think with 9 games on the slate, there'd be at least something. Looks like Zach LaVine's going off, so that's good for me, for my team. We already have the starters for the Knicks. Not too exciting there. But yeah, I mean, there's just not a whole lot happening in your tip here. Obviously, again, we're waiting on some of that later stuff. The biggest one is Jokic in that later game. Again, I lean towards him playing. Don't know if he's going to or not. Just lean towards it. Other than that, most of these games do start around the same time. I mean, we've got an hour between. You've got 4 games starting at 5 Central, and then 2 games starting at 6 Central. Those are pretty much the same to me. The later games are starting at 7 Central. There's 2 of those, and then there's 7:30 Central for the Nuggets game. So you kind of have to guess at that Nuggets game at this point, or just have a solid plan for who you're going to swap, should Jokic play or not play. That's what I would do. If you're going to play Jokic, then, who you're going to swap to if Jokic doesn't play. That's going to be a rough thing to do. I mean, you can swap to Steph Curry, obviously. He's fine, and I think he's a great play on the slate. I love him on the slate. So maybe you gamble on Jokic, and if he doesn't play, you swap to Steph Curry, and then maybe you have another player that you can spend up on as well. So that might be a way you go with it. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where you're just kind of guessing at this point. Jokic 11-6, Curry 10-3. So you need have an extra 1,300 to spend on somebody. You don't have to spend all 1,300, obviously, but you can spend up a little bit on somebody. So if you're playing like a Bruce Brown, maybe let me see here. So if you're playing like a Bruce Brown, maybe you spend up to a Michael Porter Jr., for instance. You can even get up to an Aaron Gordon, which actually that works fantastically. So you have Jokic, and then you play Bruce Brown, and then if Jokic gets ruled out, am I saying that right? You have Jokic and you have Bruce Brown. If Jokic gets ruled out, then you have Steph Curry, and you swap up to Aaron Gordon, who's going to go off if there's no Jokic. So I like that. That's a good solid plan. I'd go that route. Obviously, you can tell since I'm looking at it now, I am not doing that plan. I'm playing more of the safe value tonight. Don't feel like you have to spend up for Jokic. I think it's an incredible spot for him, though. It's going to be a really fun game. I'm looking forward to watching that in real life. Let's head over to FanDuel, though. FanDuel's got tougher pricing, so I haven't really talked a whole lot about it today. But yeah, for FanDuel, I mean, one guy I haven't mentioned, I did have him in some early builds on my DraftKings, but for FanDuel, I still got him in there. It's Zach Collins at 7,200. Again, Spurs sitting everybody, not really playing any real players. He's like the only remaining like real player left. And so I do think that Zach Collins makes sense here. I think on DraftKings, he's 7,000, so he's a fine player there as well. He's been scoring basically 35 DK points on the regular. I mean, is he going to? The thing is, you have to know that that's going to stick. I mean, with the situation and with him having the skill level he does, he's probably going to continue to score around 35 DK points a game with a little bit of upside as well. So I think he's definitely a fine play. I've still got him on FanDuel. Like I said, it's tougher pricing on FanDuel. So not a whole lot I love over there. But I do like Zach Collins. I feel like he's going to be, I won't call him a sneaky play. He'll probably still have plenty of ownership, but it's going to be lower than some of these other guys I've mentioned tonight. So I do like him for that reason. Just taking a look at Twitter to see if there's any absolute late breaking news here. We're about 17 minutes to tip. We already got the Knicks starters. Nothing exciting there. I got to check in on my Bulls. Let's see how they're doing. You guys getting Bulls updates too? Yeah, they're going to win this one, 124-105 with a minute 30 left. That's insanity. That's a big win for the Bulls. Again, incentivizes the Kings a little bit because now they can catch up in the standings there. So an angle we can use for DFS for sure. But yeah, huge win for my bullies. Go Bulls. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's see if we've got anything else breaking now. We are 15 minutes or so from tip. And we'll see if we have anything here. We'll go back to FanDuel in a minute here. But yeah, I think Zach Collins on FanDuel is good. Oh, I'm in the wrong feed. I'm like, why am I seeing my friend talking about stuff? Let's see here. Yep. Nothing too exciting there. Okay, so back to FanDuel then. One guy I did not mention on DraftKings, but again, I think it's going to be a competitive game. I think his contributions could be key here. He's been up and down, but a good GPP play, in my opinion. Terrence Ross at 4,600 on Phoenix. Phoenix OKC, again, I'm getting fireworks from this game. I think it's going to be maybe the most fun game on the slate. I won't call it the most high-scoring game. Probably be maybe Lakers and Houston for that one, or maybe even no, probably not. I was like, I'm not going to mention that one. That probably won't be in the running there. But I think it will be one of the higher games, if not the highest game on the slate there with the Suns and the OKC Thunder. It's going to be competitive. I do like Terrence Ross, 4,600. Think he's a little bit slept on there. Going to have very low ownership. Not the best price tag in the world, but again, sometimes you pay that premium for the low ownership. TJ McConnell, 6,200 on FanDuel. I talked about on DraftKings. I mean, obviously it's the same player. Still getting near 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes on a nightly basis. Still producing. So I like him there as well. Jalen Brunson's 9,200 on FanDuel as opposed to 8,400 on DraftKings. Still like it. Still think it's fine. Still think it's safe value. Again, it's a Thibs team. He's gonna play his guys 38 minutes a night. Pretty much no matter what the score is. It's just kind of insane, but that's how he runs things, and so we're gonna ride that. And thank you, Tom Thibodeau, for your service, and we can pretty much guarantee Knicks guys are always safe value. So there you go. Another guy in the Lakers here, Houston Lakers, that could be in the running for the top scorer on the slate, I think. Actually, I want to kind of look at the game totals now. Now I'm curious, since I'm talking about this, what is the highest game total on the slate? You really should be aware of that, and I generally am. 243 for Spurs Kings, of course. Mavericks Hawks 246. It's a little interesting. I think it's going to be hit lower than that, honestly, but that is a higher one as well. Rockets Lakers, though, isn't too far behind, 236, and then Suns Thunder is 237. So 237, 236, again, you're talking about a difference of maybe 6-7 points in the game totals according to Vegas, which isn't always right. So I do think that those are still games you can definitely target. But yeah, going back to my original point there, the Lakers and Houston, I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. Malik Beasley at 4,500 on FanDuel makes a lot of sense to me. He's also, I believe, pretty inexpensive on DraftKings, maybe even more attractive in terms of pricing. Let me just double check that. I don't have him in my lineup, obviously, because he's just kind of a hit or miss kind of guy. 3,800 on DraftKings. So we talked about Johnny Davis at 3,700. Do you go Johnny Davis or Malik Beasley? That's a tough one. I think you probably go Johnny Davis, because Johnny Davis is going to get 30-plus minutes tonight. There's no way. I mean, the Wizards have nothing to play for. He's starting now. Why would they start him if they're only planning on playing him for 20 minutes or something like that? I mean, unless he gets a foul trouble or that looks absolutely horrible out there, I think Johnny Davis is definitely going to play 30-plus minutes. So I would probably go Johnny Davis over Malik Beasley on that site. Again, Paulo Banchero, 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. So, pricing again, not great on FanDuel for a lot of these guys that I like, but I still have Paulo in my lineup because it's an incredible matchup against Detroit. This is like silly season miracle right here, because you got two teams that are just kind of vying for the bottom seed. I've also got Isaiah Livers at 4,700 in that game as well as a decent play. I'm not super sold on that one, but I do think this is just going to be one of those silly season type games where you have just random guys going off. I think it's going to be one of those games where you kind of get a minutes distribution where they're going to give Paolo a bunch of minutes, and they're going to give Jaden Ivey a bunch of minutes. That's another guy I'd look at as well. But, Killian Hayes probably gets a bunch of minutes as well. But like all the rest of the guys, all the young guys are going to get like equal minutes. So I think everybody plays in this one. Everybody eats to some extent. Let me see if we have any new breaking news. Nothing there. Just a very slow. I expected more for a 9-game slate, but I guess we know who they are. We don't have a whole lot that we're waiting on, honestly. So kind of makes sense. Again, LeBron's probably playing. Jokic is the big one, but won't know on that until after lock. But most likely, I am going to stick around with you guys also, and take a look at ownership after the slates do lock. I always like to do that. Some of the guys I talk about, just kind of give you an idea what the ownership looks like and how I feel about that. So stick with me for about 3 or 4 minutes after lock. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will notify you every single time we go live like this, which will be up to lock. And we're going to hopefully do this for as many slates as we can here until the end. We have about 10.5 minutes until lock. So any questions you guys might have, go ahead and shoot it in the comment section, and I will put it up here and try to answer it for you guys. Do I play this guy over that guy? How do you feel about this guy in this format? If it's a fantasy, season-long fantasy, DFS, whatever you want to throw at me, I'd play it all. So definitely happy to answer any questions you guys have. Let me see. Heading back to FanDuel. Let's see. I'm taking a look now because I do have currently Malik Beasley in my lineup, but I think I'm going to swap him for Johnny Davis, speaking of which. And I think in the future I might have to confirm how this works with everything, but I need to go ahead and I think I will be sharing my screen with you guys in the future just to let you know, show you exactly what I'm doing here and what I'm looking at, because I think there's some value in that. But yeah, I think I'm going to swap off Johnny Davis at this point. And, I think Isaiah Livers was one I really wasn't sold on. He's in my lineup currently. So let's see if I swap off him. If there's some other guys I'm looking at like an Aaron Wiggins, no. Corey Joseph, not really. And Neesmith. Neesmith is decent. Keita Bates-Diop is playing, it looks like. That's a pretty good name. Yeah, I think Keita Bates-Diop might be the way I go here. Looks like he is playing against the Kings. Everyone gets a bump when they're against the Kings. Oh, I got Isaiah Hartenstein also on the FanDuel. So if you guys play FanDuel, that's a guy I would consider as well. Again, he's getting got a bulk share of the Julius Randle minutes in the last one. And there's no RJ Barrett here. They're going to probably try to play maybe some 2 center lineups. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think he played a whole lot next to Mitchell Robinson in the last one. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But I do think, Isaiah Hartenstein at 5,900 is a very decent play on FanDuel. Not a lock. I'm trying to think if there's any locks on FanDuel for me. I really don't. I think Paulo Banchero might be the one lock. I like Kevin Durant still at 9,400. So maybe that's kind of my core there, my core two, my 2 stars that I'm building around. And then all the rest are kind of mid-tier. I do have Jalen Brunson at 9,200 as well. So I don't think he's the highest ceiling guy. That's the thing. But I do think he's a very safe guy to play without Julius Randle in the lineup. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see if we have any new news here to give you guys off of the feed. Feed me. Pistons are starting Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Livers, Marvin Bagley, and James Wiseman. No surprises there. I think Livers is probably the one guy I'm looking at. I think Ivey's a decent guy as well. Probably priced up at this point, but wait, Portland won. Hold on 1 second here. Whoa. Portland beat your Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just sad. I am so sorry, T-Wolves fans. That is not good. Not good. A little bit embarrassing. A little bit. Shaden Sharp, 27 points. Kid just continues to produce. That's incredible. But yeah, sorry for your loss there, Wolves fans. It looks like my Bulls took care of business also against the Grizzlies, winning by 21 points. Woo! I like it. And the overhit, which is good. Shout out to Mike Fiddle for that one. 2 whole units on that one. I like it. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any. John Morant had triple-double, and they still lost. Not surprising, really. Well, it's not, that part of it's not surprising. It's surprising that they lost to the Bulls. I'll say that much, but it's not surprising that just because someone gets triple-double, that doesn't necessarily mean they provide a lot of value for your team. It's good for DFS purposes, though. I'm not seeing a whole lot of late-breaking news, guys, so I do apologize about that. I can't make the news happen, obviously. I'm not going to give you guys anything that isn't happening here. But just to kind of recap, and Johnny Davis is a good play. I'm going to fade DeLon right now. I had DeLon Wright as a good play before, but I think I'm going to back off of that and go with a little bit more of Johnny Davis because I think he's going to get a whole lot of minutes tonight. Some other stuff that we talked about was obviously RJ Barrett being out. My targets there would be Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley is going to get more minutes, and Josh Hart. Don't sleep on Josh Hart. He's a decent play as well. I don't necessarily have in my lineups, but I do think he's a very decent play here. Grimes is probably going to be a very popular play. I'll say that much. So for me, I play these single entry GPPs. I'm not going to be playing a guy that I think is going to have an incredible amount of ownership unless I know he's going to smash. I don't know that about Quentin Grimes, so I'm not going to go there. I am fading it. Kind of have to make a decision at that point. Which side do I go with? I am fading that. I'm going with Obi Toppin at 4,100 on DraftKings. I'm not even going with him on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, going with Obi Toppin. I'm hoping it works out to me. Works out for me, I should say. Yeah, the Spurs, again, Zach Collins, I think you can't sleep on him. Even 7,000, 7,200 on those 2 sites. I think that's still a very decent play. Nothing wrong with that at all. And then we had there's really not a whole lot of new stuff dropping for you guys, unfortunately. I wish I had more news here, but I can't make it happen. Again, I think most of the games on this DK slate or FanDuel slate, this DFS slate, are going to be competitive. If I was going to fade a game, it was going to be the Kings and the Spurs for me, but now with the Grizzlies losing, Kings have a chance to close that gap for the 2nd seed. maybe that matters to them. So I don't know if I can fade that entirely now. So the Spurs got a little bit of jump for me based on the late breaking news here. I'm not super interested in Detroit, Orlando. I do like Paulo Banchero, but I did talk about some of the pieces in there that I like. I'm not super into that game. I'm not fading it though. Indiana Cleveland's probably the one game, honestly. I'm fading, honestly. That's the only game at this point. And I'm not even fading it because I've got TJ McConnell. So I'm fading no games on the slate. So there you go. They're all fine by me. You're all fine by me. Any questions you guys have, please pop them in the chat. Should I start this guy? Should I play this guy? How do you feel about this guy? I'm happy to answer. I am here. We're going to try to do these for every single DFS slate we have here going from here to the end. If it's a 2-game slate, there's really no value here. I mean, I'd be sitting here even worse than this with no news to really tell you guys. So I'm not going to do a 2-game slate or probably even a 3-game slate. But as long as we get like 4, 5, 6 games, I think we'll come in here and hang out with you. Hopefully, I'll get more of my people with you here. Some of my team members, sportsethos.com is where you check out our work. And you can get the DFS pass or the Sports Ethos 360 pass. You can get access to the wager pass, DFS pass, and the fantasy pass, which I don't know if you guys are big fantasy basketball fans. I'm assuming you are. You play daily fantasy. I think it's definitely well worth it. So get that Sports Ethos 360 pass. Sportsethos.com is where you go grab it. Just to kind of briefly run you through some guys I spoke of already as quality here on DraftKings. Kevin Durant, Jalen Brunson's pricing is just great there. Paulo Banchero, pricing is absolutely great on all three of those guys. I think if you want a really solid cash build, that's where you start, those three. And some of the guys that I like are Toppin, more of a risky play. Mitchell Robinson, also more of a risky play. TJ McConnell, he's again pricing is right there. DraftKings, I think he's a very good cash play or GPP if you need just some filler, but cash for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drop you guys the $3,400 guy. Speaking of, this is it. I've got no other news here. I'm gonna blame the slow news here. I'm giving you the DFS pass. Access here. Goga Batadze at 3,400 is the guy I'm looking at as a cheap option here. They're playing against the Detroit Pistons, who play Wiseman, Duran, some big bodies there in Detroit, and obviously no beef stew. But Goga Batadze had 22 minutes in their last game against Washington, 13 minutes against Memphis. He actually put up 30.5 DK points in the 13 minutes against Memphis. All I need is 15 minutes from Goga. And I think he's going to be able to outscore basically anybody, 3,800 or under on the slate. And that's all I need. I need him to outscore the rest of those guys. It's all comparative. So if I'm looking to save salary because there's other guys I want to play, that's the guy I'm going to gravitate towards. I do have him in my lineup here. I'm just taking a brief look at the other guys, 3,800 and under. Kendrick Nunn's appealing, but just you don't know. You got Jetty Osman. If Jared Allen's out, maybe he gets a few extra minutes. Or if it turns into a blowout. TJ Warren, not trusting that with Kevin Durant back. Maxi Kleba, 3,600. I mean, just not very attractive guys under here that are high per minute dudes. Yeah, I'm just not seeing a whole lot. I mean, McDermott might have a good game without, Keldon Johnson lineup. Might get some more shots going his way. But yeah, how do I trust that? For me, it's Goga. Goga Batadze is the guy. If I want to take a GPP dice roll, that is my dude. So take that for what it's worth. We are about, 1 minute here to lock? 29 seconds to lock. Let's see real quick if we have any new news here. I don't see anything. Kobe White had a good game. That's good. I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I don't see anything here that's crazy, earth-shattering, or going to change the slate. So that's it, guys. We're locking this in, and once we do lock it in, I'm going to share with you guys, kind of the ownership that I'm seeing from some of the guys I spoke of. We should get quite a few since there's most of those games starting early, so that'll be exciting. All right, we have now passed lock. Always I got a little flutter in my heart. Oh, I'm so excited. Let me go take a look real quick. Let me see here. Oh, I won from some money from the earlier slates. That's fun. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Live, upcoming, live. Here we go. Had to wait for a moment for them to come live. No, that's not the right one either. I promise I will be getting to this ownership for you guys. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's take a look at some of his ownership and some of the guys we were speaking about. Jalen Brunson, 52.7%. Yeah, no surprise at all. Definitely makes sense. He's a lock for all cash builds for sure. GPPs, he's 8,400 is too cheap. Too cheap. Paulo Banchero, 31.5%. Yeah, makes sense. Again, popular plays here. Mitchell Robinson, 19%. That's actually a little surprising to me. Didn't expect his ownership to be quite that high. I thought he'd be maybe about half of that. So that is a bit surprising to me, but I guess other people saw what I saw, so that's fine. Obi Toppin, 37.5% is also surprising to me. Definitely expected people not to go back to him after he got 19 minutes in the last game. There was so much uncertainty around his playing time. I was hoping that'd be a little bit of a pivot, so that's a bummer for me. We'll see how that goes, though. Hopefully he has a good game either way. Gogo Patadze, 0.4% on DraftKings. So, yeah, that's going to be gold for me if he can hit the 20, 25 DK point benchmark there. Let's take a look at FanDuel and see if we can get some eyes on some ownership. And obviously these will vary by contest, so I'm just going to look at the one I'm spending the most money in. Let's take a look. Jalen Brunson, 32% owned. Yeah, I mean, his price is a little bit more expensive on FanDuel. That's probably that checks out. Still highly owned. Johnny Davis, 43.8% on FanDuel. Wow. Maybe everyone was listening to the stream. Paulo Banchero, 15.9%. Pretty surprised by that, actually. He's 8,300, so it's like an $800 difference between DK and FanDuel. But, Rookie of the Year is in the balance. It's a great matchup for him. I'm surprised he's not a little higher owned than that, honestly. Zach Collins only 8.7% owned. That's good. That's what I expected there. Price tag isn't exactly the most appealing at 7,200 on FanDuel, but I think he's got some definite upside there. And then Isaiah Hartenstein is 7.8% owned on FanDuel, and that makes sense as well. So everything checks out. I think the biggest thing that surprised me is that Toppin's more highly owned than I thought he would be. And maybe Mitchell Robinson a little bit as well. So that's going to do it for us, though, guys. That is it. That is our FanDuel DK Lineup Lock show. Please do like and subscribe so you can get some notifications every time we go live. Leave us some comments and let us know how we're doing, how we can improve the show. Always happy to hear some feedback. I am Keith Cork. Follow me on Twitter at the Twitter handle right there. Right there. That's it. And I will catch you guys for the next Lineup Lock. Peace.